Good morning. Welcome to our morning meditations. I'm the Reverend Dr. William L. Johnson III. Certainly, I am glad to welcome you once again. I am a chaplain at Christian Hospital Northeast here in St. Louis, Missouri. And for all of you who are paying attention or listening in or sharing this video, we want you to know, as we always want you to know, that we appreciate you. You are loved, appreciated, and you are irreplaceable. The purpose of these messages each morning that we share them are really simple, to encourage you along your way as you are journeying through life and through your vocations, as you are finding your way through the meaning of life, through good times or bad times, through ups and downs, struggles or successes. We want you to know that we're thinking of you, and we want you to be encouraged in what you do. And we also want to inspire you. We want you to be inspired to do the work that you're doing, or to engage in the activities that you're engaged in. It's one thing to live life with drudgery, but it's another thing to live life inspired, because you are living out your passion and you're doing it with vigor and vitality. And so that's our desire, so that we might encourage you and inspire you along the way. We are glad that many of you have sent us feedback, and we would like to hear more of it, so keep it coming. But in today's morning meditation, we want to pause a moment to kind of focus, if you will, on what it is that we will be doing during this next year. So we want to talk with you for a few moments about seeing with different eyes. Seeing with different eyes. I began my discussion with you this morning, probably inspired by the fact that it's time for me to get another eye exam. And sure enough, for those of us who have traveled a few miles and have experienced a few summers in life, we are going to have moments in which we have to adjust our eyesight in order to make do as we are living this life the way we know it. In other words, I'm going to need new glasses. But as I reflect on that, I thought about what it is I would share with you today. And certainly, there are certain things that stand out to me that I've read, and I want to share with you what I believe has some meaning for us as we journey through this new year. In just a few days, we will be celebrating together the celebration of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's life and his birth. And in doing so, we are reminded in this moment that as we live and as we think and as we are reminded of such, that there are certain people in our lives that we look up to. And so it has been for me. During my lifetime, and as a young child, I really found the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King inspirational, and certainly a goal or person that I wanted to mimic. In fact, he's one of my childhood heroes. And in doing so, I found myself comparing my life to his, only to discover that there's no way that I could ever compare to what he's done for the world, and what he's done for humanity, and what he's done for this country, and what he's done for a little black boy like me growing up and being born 1 year after he was assassinated. It is an amazing thing to be able to see ourselves in light of history, and it causes us to be forced to see ourselves and see other things with different eyes. So I'm inspired here to share this really interesting message with you. I saw it and read about it, and I'm going to tell you the story. It is from the Talmud, and I picked it up in a reading from Mark Nepo's book, The One Life We're Given. And it's an amazing story, but I'm going to read just a little bit of this portion from the Talmud. It talks about a person, a character by the name of Akiba. When Akiba was on his deathbed, he bemoaned to his rabbi that he felt he was a failure. His rabbi moved closer and asked why, and Akiba confessed that he had not lived a life like Moses. The poor man began to cry, admitting that he feared God's judgment. And at this moment, his rabbi leaned into his ear and whispered gently, God will not judge Akiba for not being Moses. God will judge Akiba for not being Akiba. Which takes me to my first point about seeing with different eyes. It is an amazing thing, the way we look at ourselves, comparing ourselves to other people. And really, what is most important is that we are not other people. We are uniquely made. We are different than anyone else in the world. And because God holds us accountable for how we live our lives with what God has given us for those lives, that's the only thing that really matters. Thank you for that reading. And it reminded me that I'm not meant to be the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but I am meant to be the Reverend Dr. William L. Johnson III. In other words, I am meant to be me, and everything that I bring to this life, I am called upon to live my entire life with veracity and fearlessness, and with joy, and with patience, and with laughter, and yes, even with a dance. So I want to remind you that that is important. When we see with different eyes, the first person we will see is ourselves differently. We are looking at ourselves not through the glass that other people would see, but looking through a glass that is ours alone. We are the only ones that will ever live. And it is important for us to get a sense of who we are. The Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, one of my other favorite personalities, who happened to be a mentor to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He had been known as a great scholar and a great Christian mystic. Dr. Thurman gave a baccalaureate address to the students at Spelman College around 1980. And in that speech, he gave, in that baccalaureate message, he gave a speech entitled "The Sound of the Genuine." It was an amazing story. He opens up with this story about the Blue Cat of Castletown. And for those of you who have not picked up, it's old literature. It's probably over 100 years old, I'm sure. But the Blue Cat of Castletown was about a blue cat with pink ears, with few black hairs. And the rumor was, or the legend was, is that whenever that cat lost its black whiskers, it would eventually hear a song from the river. And that song would lead it away from its home and perhaps maybe to be ever seen again. And sure enough, this story is about this cat actually hearing a song from the river that said simply this: "You are the only one that will ever exist. There will never be another one just like you. So sing your song. Whatever it is that you're called to do, sing your song with excellence and grace and vigor." And so the young little cat does. Its whiskers fall off and it finds itself hearing the song of the river that takes him to the riverbank. And only then does he hear it, and he sings his song that saves eventually the sound of Castletown. Well, it is a reminder to us that there's only one us. And so to see with different eyes is to see ourselves as unique beings with something to offer to the world that cannot compare and should never be compared to anyone else. You are special in your own right. You are an inspiration in your own right. You are loved in your own right. And even if the whole world does not accept that or does not give you accolades or affirm who you are, you should affirm that for yourself every time you get up in the morning and look in the mirror, that you are special indeed. Yeah, I know that sounds like a lot of pep talk, but to see with different eyes is not only to see the good parts of our lives, but also the parts that we're not so proud of. To see the whole package as something that is divinely ordered and that our lives still have meaning even now, even if we've made mistakes along the way. Seeing with different eyes also calls us to see each other differently. Yeah, I really like this part that I'm sharing with you because I think it's really important to be able to pull that together. Because what Howard Thurman said to that crowd of gathered there of graduates, he said to them that if you never get a sense of the genuine you, you will go around your life as if you are dangling from the ends of strings that someone else pulls. In other words, you will find yourselves being pulled by other people's expectations rather than your unique calling and vocation in the world. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of great prep talk, but I have found that if you're not sure who you are and you're not sure how to see other people, you will lose your sense of peace. In fact, you might even judge other people for what they're doing or how they should be doing things based on your values rather than the uniqueness of their being. They're different. They're going to be different. They are meant to be different. And so it is, we discover that as we are journeying together, we bring our gifts, our superpowers to the fore. You are different, I'm different, but each of us have something to offer to the world as we see with different eyes. And also, when we see with different eyes, we see ourselves differently, we see others differently, but I also say that we see God and our circumstances differently. Yeah, I love this part. And there is a biblical story that I want to bring in to support this. Around the sixth chapter of book of First Kings, or maybe Second Kings, I want to make sure I have that right. Around the sixth chapter there, you will see this unique story. It is a story of the prophet Elijah, who finds himself looking in and knowing what the king of Syria is going to do. God shows him what the plans are. And so he warns the king of Israel about what it is that they should do to avoid being caught unaware. And so the king of Syria is a bit frustrated, and he thinks he has a spy in his own camp. And while he is frustrated, someone says, none of us are spies, but there is a prophet over there who tells everything that you even think about in your bedroom. I love that story. I don't know who's eavesdropping. I don't know what that would mean in this social media age, but it is a fantastic story. And somehow that king decides to send a band of an army or a group of people to go and arrest and take Elijah into their hands. And so they do. And what they discover, they show up there, and while Elijah and his helpmeet or his servant are there, they discover the servant comes back and he looks out and sees that they're surrounded by an army. And Elisha asks this question of God. God, I ask, Lord, that you would open the young man's eyes. And he sends the young man out again to look and see what he didn't see before. And what he discovered, that although the truth is that they were surrounded by enemy forces, that the enemy forces were surrounded by God's army. It's an interesting story. I love it. It's fascinating. I invite you to read it at your leisure. But it is a reminder to us, the meaning of it is that what you think you see, even in a pandemic, even in the state that the world is in, even in the state the country is in, that what your eyes see, you have to go back and see again, look again, pay attention again. Go back and imagine what God is actually trying to show us, or how we would be able to choose to see other people differently, and to see ourselves differently, and to see our circumstances differently when we see through the eyes of God. God opened my eyes when my family is in trouble. God opened my eyes when I find that the pandemic is overwhelming me and I feel like I can't do it anymore. God opened my eyes when I've just received the diagnosis, or I've just tried to work myself too much and I'm worn out, and now I have contracted perhaps the virus. God opened my eyes so that I can see who my friends are and who my family, new family members will be. God opened my eyes so that I can see more than what my eyes see now. You know, it's a beautiful thing to be able to open your eyes and see differently, and to see with different eyes. I'm constantly praying for such a thing, so that I can see God changing my eyesight so that I can see the things that are important. Well, in just a few days, I am going to get new glasses. But there are some things that regular physical glasses can't do, but that spiritual glasses can. And I'm inviting you, as you're going through the new year, to ask God to open your eyes so that you can see differently. And maybe if you look again, you might see something that you've never seen before. That while you are preoccupied with trouble and difficulty, God has that taken care of. We don't always know. It will not prevent us from getting sick, will not prevent us from suffering tragedy. It will not prevent us from having hardship. It won't hold our marriages together. It won't keep our children from making bad decisions. But what it will do, it will allow us to see the circumstances differently. And you'll be surprised at what the meaning will bring to your life. Well, thank you so much for giving me more time than I wanted to claim of yours. And I want you to know that you are loved, you are appreciated, and you're irreplaceable. Thank you for giving us your time. And we are thinking of you as you're journeying through this other valley or this other mountain or this other experience or whatever it is that the new year will bring. We are ready for it because we are seeing with different eyes. Take care.